Hello, everybody. Welcome to Privateers Volley. I'm Rick Hidalgo, and today I want to have a conversation about a conspiracy that's not a theory. Yeah, I guess, you could count me in on a lot of conspiracy theories that end up becoming conspiracy facts, right? But this one is far more than a fact. It's actually been in play for longer than most of the world's civilization. In fact, very short time after the actual Ark situation, not many generations in, something happened that blew the devil's mind and basically created a portal, a doorway for Christ. This guy named Abraham just kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, out of the house of Nimrod, because his father Terah was an idolater, and he was one of the council in the house of Nimrod. Right from underneath Nimrod's nose, literally sat under Noah for a dozen or so years. Literally sat under Shem in the school of Shem for years and years and years. Became one that the Lord could account unto for righteousness. Words that are just absolutely amazing. If you know me, you know that I love those words, and that's what I'm pursuing. But this also presents one of the greatest conspiracies of all time that today is still being drug out, today is still being played out, and in fact is being closed down, solidified, and made absolutely rock solid, so that few, if any, Abrahams ever exist again. So let's get into it a little bit. I already kind of went through a little bit of Abram's history. If you read some of the apocryphal text, those of you who are not don't feel like you need to read those texts, fine. You can dig a lot of the concepts out of the short story version of Abraham's life that is in the book of Genesis. However, it does get expanded on in the book of Jasher, in the book of Jubilees, and in the book of the Apocalypse of Moses. There's some conversation in there about Abraham. There's a testament of Abraham. There's a lot of great information out there, and whether we consider them capable of edifying, correcting, so on and so forth, as physically scripture, that's up to you and to you only. I'm not going to place any name on it, and I'm not going to tell you what my house has done. I can only tell you that there's historical, relevant information that's important to understand, because we're talking about a conspiracy above all conspiracies. If you're one who is embattled about the shape of the earth, or if you're one who's embattled about the lines in the sky the planes leave, if you're one who's embattled about all the current day conspiracies that you could literally pick apart super easy, if you gave it time, this one is ironclad. It's a conspiracy to disable anyone following the way maker, Jesus the Christ, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who right now reigns over heaven and earth. This is a conspiracy that allows very few to succeed into being equated, such as Abraham was, accounted onto for righteousness. And the conspiracy is quite amazing. The earth and the governments of men, which, by the way, are not true governments, because there's only one true government, and that is Jesus Christ. His government and the government that's been on this earth since the beginning of time, even before we were on this earth, there was his government. His government is the angels. There are 9 kinds, and all of them are given specific tasks on this earth to do. Okay, so his kingdom endures, and it endures forever. And in Matthew chapter 28, somewhere around the AD 33 time period, he was given the keys to death, hell, and the grave. He was given kingship over heaven and earth. It was all obtained through his suffering, through his resurrection, and it was all obtained. So we are in a position where very few can obtain the status that is most desired anywhere on earth, and that is accounted to for righteousness by God himself, by the Father, the one who has given his inheritance to his Son, his only begotten Son, and to those who are co-inheritors with him. That's us, those of us who are among the elect, those who have been chosen not by some predetermined method, not by, because I'm not a 5-point or 4-point Calvinist. I'm not any of that stuff. I'm just a dude who happens to understand that my election was made at literally my decision to follow him and to stay on the straight and narrow. Okay, that's where my election was made. And I am in a place now where I am examining what it's going to take to be like Abraham told Rick, I count it unto you for righteousness. Because I have to presuppose that Abraham had thoughts that may or may not have been part of the kingdom. I have to presuppose that there were transgressions that happened, small ones, but transgressions nonetheless. I have to presuppose that he was not a perfect man. I think we could even read that. He lied about his wife being his sister. Okay, so that was a pretty big one. But the point is this. An imperfect man was chosen by God to be accounted to for righteousness. And if we're not all looking at that formula and asking ourselves, how can I too be accounted to for righteousness? How can I receive the increase that Abraham received out of nothing? And that's the thing. He lived in a time when there was nothing. Nothing meaning God said, go there, take your herds, take your manservants, take your women servants, take your wife, take everything you have. Move from this point A to this point B. He did so. He settled in that area. He did exactly what the Lord told him to do. And because of his obedience, not just in that moving, but in setting up camp and doing things the way that the Lord instructed him to do it, God gave him the increase over and over and over again. And he didn't have artificial insemination. So he couldn't go around and collect semen from this cow and semen from this horse and go to the scientific, the scientific room and get his manservants that have been studying science for, 50 years to get out their lab coats and their microscopes and look in them and say, oh, look, if you take this and we take this chromosome out of here and apply this hormone and we do this and that, we're going to have the best marbling around, and boy, people are going to buy and you're going to have great success. Didn't have that. What he had was the ability to say, God, what do I do? He did what God told him to do, and God gave him an increase. He said, I'm going to make sure that your cows give birth. I'm going to make sure that your horses give birth, and that they're going to give birth in a prosperous way. Every natural factor known to man was accounted unto him for righteousness, and he literally had advantage over all of it. When it came to growing the grasslands, when it came to how much crop to put down, how much crop to take out, how much crop to leave for others, when it came to all of those statistics, he was accounted to unto righteousness because he did it right. He did it the way that the Lord said to do it. Now, we can debate what those ways are all day because a lot of them are in Scripture, but they're radically interpreted. That sounds like some kind of chemical you put on your body. But they're radically interpreted, and depending on where you go, there's going to be people who tell you it means this and it means that. Again, Talmudism, here's our enemy. Okay, United States Code, there's our enemy. It's all interpreted according to the interest that's interpreting it. Okay, so we can go all day long talking about that stuff, but we have to discover by first observing. Let's observe and say, so how does God do this naturally? Let's look and see. So, there are people, you can go on YouTube right now and you can watch a documentary called, I think it's called Return to Eden or something like that. And it's about a guy in the state of Washington who has, put together a very interesting concept. He just observed nature and copied it. And the increase has been given to him. Look what he's doing. Look at what he's growing. It's amazing. Okay. So there are pieces and parts all over this that we need to learn. But what makes this a conspiracy is that everything is now against you. Let's look at the fact that Abraham was told to go from point A to point B and settle. And he did so. The Lord said, all that you see up to the horizon is yours. You control it. It's your interest. And Abraham returned that interest to the Lord and said, Lord, but I want to use it for you. I'm going to do whatever you want me to do. Well, do you think you can just pick up from point A and to go to point B and say, okay, Lord, I'm going to settle here? No, because you're going to have to now buy land, because there is no land out there, at least that we know of, that is not settled, that is not owned by somebody. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but land prices are ridiculous. I mean, if we really did the math, comparing what land was granted, what cost land was granted at, and the cost of land now, we can see that it is an absolute nightmare to try to buy land. Even in places where they're literally, trying to give it away, it's still $400, $500 an acre, which is nothing in areas where it's, progressed. But it's still something. And difficult to obtain that kind of money, but without doing what? Borrowing. And we are told not to borrow, because the borrower is going to own the interest. And we are not to give any man interest. Not to mention that there's a part of that's literally the definition of usury. So we're stuck in this situation where we have gatekeepers all around us. And that's what makes this a conspiracy, is that, case in point, I know of a program where they're giving away acreage. You can go and you can get 10 acres of land right now, no cost whatsoever, but terms and conditions, you have to build on it, you have to pay taxes on it, and everything that you build on it, you have to pay taxes on, right? Well, Rick, that's common. Everybody pays tax. No, actually, go read Matthew chapter 17. Not everybody is supposed to pay taxes. First and foremost. Okay, the sons don't pay a tax, the foreigners do. So all the stuff that you're hearing right now about tariffs and foreign countries paying for stuff, that's actually the way it's supposed to be in the kingdom. That's how it is. So it's kind of a good adjustment, but it still doesn't take care of all the gatekeepers that are in our way. We have tons and tons and tons of gatekeepers. There are sprays and pesticides and things being sprayed by our neighbors that affect, the organic matter that's under the earth, that we're trying to yield from the earth. And there are plethoras of issues, and we can go on to them all day long, but these are conspiracies. It's a conspiracy. We have a bombardment of propaganda that comes at us all the time. We have this thing called the American dream. That's another gatekeeper. What is the American dream? The American dream is, anything we put our mind to, we can do, we can be, because we are Americans, and that's what America is. That's what the American dream is. Problem is, you're not asking the right question. If I could put my mind to it, who does that leave out? Right? Doesn't that leave out our King, Jesus the Christ? Should we not be doing what he tells us to do? After all, he is king. Oh, but Rick, we're not serfs. Well, actually, we are. In Christ, we are his bondservants. His bondservants do not, do things without his permission, and we do not do things outside of his obedience. That's what makes us bondservants, and that's what gives us the possibility of being accounted unto for righteousness. The affordability of houses, flocks, infrastructure. I mean, you can't just build a house, but let's say you're off grid, right? Which is your best chance, by the way. Your best chance of getting to this place of being accounted to for righteousness and doing things completely in his nature is to be off grid. Yet, to be off grid, if you don't have infrastructure, it's real hard to live. Right? So you have to have infrastructure. You have to have some kind of an investment in flocks. Because unlike Abraham, we can't go out there and say, hey, see that sheep way over there? Go collect that sheep and bring them over here. Let's start with him. We can't do that because that sheep way over there is probably owned by somebody. Somebody has interest over that sheep. And speaking of the word interest, that is another gatekeeper. Everything we do is tied to some kind of contractual obligation to Babylon. When we register things, register land, register cars, register anything that we register, we are contractually tying it up with Babylon, and we're making it more difficult for that to be clean and 100% the interest of the kingdom. So we have to unregister, we have to untie everything from the system, and that makes it even that much harder. We have a dependence on this on this system. What do we do about water? Well, I guess you could drill a well, right? But hey, what do you have to do to drill a well? You have to register the well. Some places, okay, maybe you get an agricultural well, and you can get away with that. But then that's not the best water. There's better water even below that, right? And what interest are we working for? And what rights are we given as stewards over the land? Do they sometimes conflict with Babylon? Well, sure they do. Because Babylon wants to control the interest. They want you to register everything with them, and they're going to continue to try to get you to do that. Manipulation of nature. I talked about it a little bit ago, right? Artificial insemination. Oh, we got to have the best marbling in our beef. And if we get the best of this breed and the best of that breed, and we do some scientific hocus pocus, we can make the best marble ever. If we take that breed and mix them together. So what do? We invest thousands of dollars in getting the right breeds. And then we're not necessarily obeying the Lord when we do that. Because have we really heard from him, or have we just kind of said, "Hey, guy, what's your opinion? Hey, Mister Popular Guy on YouTube who makes thousands of dollars from their YouTube page. Hey, what do you think of the best?" Oh yeah, okay. So who are you really listening to, right? You're actually listening to this guy, Uncle Joe. You're not really listening to the Lord. You're not really listening to the King, Jesus the Christ. He's not the one that's giving you those instructions. He's not the one that's laying it in front of you. So we have gatekeepers everywhere. And of course, the desire for man's protection. This is another part of the gatekeeping, right? The desire for man's protection. We have such a desire for man's protection that we will insure ourselves to the hilt. It's like, whoa, what if a tornado, it hits us and devastates all of our infrastructure in our house and takes it all away? Isn't it smart for us to invest in insurance? I mean, to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Well, here's the problem. What are you investing in when you pay insurance? There is no kingdom insurance. Really, there is none. The only thing you have in the kingdom is blessed assurance that Christ is going to bring to your door opportunities to be accounted to for righteousness. And then God gives the increase. He opens and closes the womb. He opens and closes the ability for fruit to grow in season. And he opens and closes the ability for vegetables to bloom in season and out of season. He opens those doors, no one else. You can go to Joe Saladin all day long and you can ask him every question in the book, but it's God who opens and closes those doors. He'll probably even tell you that, because I hear he's a Christian. So my point is, there is a radical conspiracy, and it's a conspiracy that actually affects the culture war. Imagine for a moment, what if there was an Abraham, somebody who popped through the system, was able to get a piece of land and just organically do everything from A to Z, and allow the influence of our king exclusively. Didn't tie their investments up with Babylon. Didn't tie their interest up with Babylon, but their interest was 100% kingdom. What if God opened and closed their windows in just amazing ways? What would that do for the world to see an example of that again? Would it not initiate some form of revival where people would come to see that famous pig? Yeah. But we have gatekeepers everywhere. It's so difficult for somebody to do this. I'm about to try. I have a 3-year indenture to pay off a small acreage, 41 acres in Wyoming, high desert area. My chief purpose for doing this is to dedicate 41 acres to the Lord's work, 100%, without tying even the smallest investment or the smallest interest into the Babylonian system, but keeping it 100% organic in the kingdom. It's going to be tough, yes. It's going to be difficult, yes. I'm going to need some types of equipment because we're planning on using earth block for building. Going to need earth block makers. Going to need all kinds of things. And if I have to do it by myself with my family, it's going to take a long, long time. I mean, I may never see it. But is it worth it? Absolutely. Just to be accounted to for righteousness. just to watch the Lord's hand at work. It's totally worth it. This is part of the culture war, folks. It's part of the culture war. And we have got to get our stuff together. If you want to be a part of doing something like I'm doing, maybe we can be neighbors close by, trying to do the same things. I can explain my ideas to you. You can explain your ideas to me, and we can go to the Lord and say, Lord, what do you want? Let's put you, if you're one of those, contact me. Say, Rick, let's get together. We'll have a meeting. We'll talk. But the culture war, guys, it's a big part of it. You look at all the stuff going on right now with the El Presidente of the corporation called the United States of America. And you can, by the way, you patriot groups out there who keep saying, oh, they it's gone default. There's all these court cases about the corporation and blah, blah, blah. The fact that there is still a president out there as an executive making deals with other corporations for business tells you all you need to know. It's a corporation. It's still functioning. And whether it's the one that was there before or a new one does not matter. It's still functioning. It's still happening. And we must come out of it. That's what the scriptures say. Come out of her, my people, that you may avoid her plagues. So here we are. The culture war is on. I've enjoyed talking to you a little bit about this today. This Abrahamic conspiracy. But I believe we're going to break through. I believe there's going to be some willing to go 100% in. And those who do so, there's going to come a day when the Lord is going to open wombs, when the Lord is going to open fruit trees, when he's going to open all those things, and we're going to have a bumper crop. I don't know what a bunker crop is, but I'm guessing that you have so much you're putting it in bunkers. You're going to have such a bumper crop that it's going to not just feed our people, but feed many people and prosper the land of the Lord. So join us if you want, but the culture war's on, and everything that we do here at Privateers Volley, it's all about the blood. Good night, folks.